You have been trying so hard to get people to respect you. And that trying, that visible, desperate, exhausting trying, is the exact reason they do not. Not because you are unworthy of respect, but because respect, real, lasting, effortless respect, has never once been earned by chasing it. It has only ever been earned by the people who stopped needing it, who became so comfortable in their own presence, so grounded in their own values, so settled in their own worth, that respect became the only reasonable response other people could have to them. That is detachment. And today, in more depth than we have ever gone, we are going to understand it, build it, and change the way you move through every relationship in your life. Let me be clear about something before we begin. This is not a video about becoming cold, not about becoming distant, not about pretending you do not care when you do. That is not detachment. That is performance. And that performance, as convincing as it sometimes looks, is always exhausting, always temporary, and always somehow visible to the people you are performing for. Real detachment is something completely different. It is the genuine, deeply rooted, quietly powerful state of a person who is so full within themselves, so clear about who they are, what they stand for, and what they are building, that other people's opinions of them become interesting rather than essential, information rather than oxygen, something you can consider without being consumed by. The Stoics called this state by many names: apatheia, freedom from destructive emotions; autarkia, self-sufficiency; eudaimonia, deep lasting flourishing. But all of those words point to the same thing: a person who has built such a complete relationship with their own inner world that the outer world runs out of ways to destabilize them. And the paradox, the beautiful, counterintuitive paradox, the Stoics understood perfectly, is that this person attracts more respect, more genuine connection, more authentic love than any person who ever chased those things. Let us understand why. Part 1. The respect paradox. There is a paradox at the heart of every human relationship. The more you need someone's respect, the less they give it. The more you need someone's love, the less it flows freely. The more you need someone's approval, the more they withhold it. Not because people are cruel, not because they are playing games, but because human beings are wired by millions of years of evolution to assign value based on perceived scarcity. What is rare we treasure. What is abundant we take for granted. What chases us we run from. What does not need us we pursue. This is not a character flaw. It is biology, and understanding it changes everything about how you show up in your relationships. When you need someone's approval, when you change yourself to get it, when you perform for it, when you shrink or expand based on whether you are receiving it, you make your approval abundant. You make yourself available, predictable, easy to take for granted. But when you are genuinely unbothered by their approval, when you are the same person, whether they are impressed or not, whether they stay or go, whether they speak well of you or not, you become rare. And rare things are always respected. Marcus Aurelius understood this, not as a manipulation tactic, but as a natural consequence of genuine self-mastery. He wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." He was not trying to seem unbothered. He was genuinely unbothered because his self-respect did not come from Rome's opinion of him. It came from his alignment with his own values. And a person whose self-respect comes from within cannot be shaken by what comes from without. Part 2. What detachment actually is. Let us clear something up that causes enormous confusion. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood concepts in Stoic philosophy and in human psychology. Most people hear the word and picture one of two things. The first image, the cold, emotionless person, the one who never laughs too loudly, never cries, never admits to wanting anything. The armored one, the one who has simply decided to feel nothing as a protection strategy. The second image, the aloof, unavailable person, the one who keeps everyone at a distance, who never fully shows up, who uses mystery as a mask for the fear of genuine connection. Neither of those is detachment. Both of those are wounds, dressed up as strength. Real detachment, Stoic detachment, looks completely different. It is warm. It is present. It is genuinely engaged with people in life, but it is not owned by any of it. Here is the distinction that changes everything. Attached thinking. If they approve of me, I am valuable. If they disapprove, I am not. Detached thinking. I am valuable. Their approval is interesting but not defining. Do you see the difference? Attachment makes your value conditional on external input. Detachment makes your value an internal constant. The attached person is a thermometer, rising and falling with the temperature of the room. The detached person is a thermostat, setting the temperature, regardless of what the room was doing before. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." What is in your power? Your values, your choices, your character. The rest, how people respond to those things, is not yours to control. And the moment you genuinely stop trying to control it, the moment you invest that energy back into what is actually yours, everything shifts. Part 3. How attachment destroys respect. Let us be honest about what attachment actually looks like in real life, because most of us have been there, and most of us have done this. Attachment in romantic relationships. You really like someone more than you have liked anyone in a while. And so, almost without realizing it, you start performing. You are funnier than usual, more available than usual, more agreeable than usual. You text back immediately. You rearrange your schedule. You mention your achievements, slightly more than feels natural. You are trying, consciously or not, to make yourself seem valuable enough to be chosen. And here is the painful truth. They feel it, not because they are perceptive, because humans are wired to detect desperation. The same way animals detect fear. It changes the energy, and the more you try, the more they pull back, the more casual they become, the less they initiate, until eventually, you are the only one doing any of the work, and you wonder what you did wrong. You did not do anything wrong. You just let them see how much you needed them. And need, in the early stages of connection, is the fastest way to lose what you were hoping to gain. Attachment in friendships. You want to be liked. You want to belong. You want to be the person everyone is glad to have around. So you say yes when you mean no. You laugh at things that are not funny. You adjust your opinions based on the room's temperature. You make yourself easy, agreeable, available, low maintenance, hoping that easiness will be rewarded with belonging. And what happens? You belong, sort of, but you are not known, because the version of you that belongs is not the full version. It is the performed version, the palatable version, the version that never pushes back, never takes up space, never has a need that is inconvenient. And that version, as liked as it sometimes is never deeply respected, because you cannot respect what you have never truly encountered. And nobody has truly encountered you if all they have ever seen is the version of you designed to be received well. Attachment in professional settings. You want your boss to approve of you, your colleagues to think well of you, your clients to be impressed. So you over-explain your decisions. You undercharge for your work. You take on more than you can handle. Rather than risk being seen as difficult, you make yourself small, when you should be standing fully in your space. And people, consciously or not, take the space you leave, not because they are calculating, because space that is not occupied is always filled by whoever is nearest. The Stoic professional does not leave that space. They occupy it fully, calmly, without apology, not arrogantly, just completely. And that completeness, that sense of a person who is entirely present in their own professional skin, is one of the most respected qualities in any room. Part 4. The Stoic foundation of detachment. Now let us build the foundation properly, because detachment without philosophy is just indifference dressed up nicely. Real detachment, the kind that lasts, the kind that transforms relationships, the kind that Marcus Aurelius practiced in the most pressured environment imaginable, is built on 3 Stoic pillars. Pillar 1, the dichotomy of control. This is the bedrock of everything. The Stoics divided all of existence into 2 categories: things in your control, things not in your control. In your control are your judgments, your desires, your choices, your character, your effort, your values. Not in your control are other people's opinions, their choices, their feelings, their decisions about you, whether they respect you, whether they love you, whether they stay. Now here's why this creates detachment. Most of the anxiety most people carry in their relationships comes from trying to control things that were never in their control, trying to control how someone sees them, trying to control whether someone stays, trying to control whether someone approves of their choices. And every attempt to control those things is not only futile, it is visible. People can feel when they are being managed, when someone is performing for them, when someone needs something from them. And that feeling, however subtle, always reduces respect. The moment you genuinely accept that other people's opinions of you are not in your control and stop trying to manage them, you free up an enormous amount of energy that was going into performance, into management, into the exhausting work of trying to be seen a certain way. And that energy comes home to your actual work, your actual values, your actual character. And your actual character, given full investment, becomes the most compelling thing about you. Pillar 2, preferred indifferent. This is one of the most nuanced and most useful Stoic concepts. The Stoics divided things into goods, evils, and indifferent. Goods, virtue, wisdom, character. Evils, vice, cowardice, dishonesty. Indifferent, everything else. But within indifferent, they created a subcategory, preferred indifferent. Things that are neither good nor evil, but that we naturally prefer. Health over sickness, wealth over poverty, respect over disrespect. The Stoic did not pretend. They did not prefer these things. They were honest about the preference, but they did not allow the preference to become a dependency, applied to respect. Yes, I prefer to be respected. I would rather be respected than not. But whether I am respected or not does not determine my value, does not determine my choices, does not determine who I am. That distinction between preference and dependency is the exact space where detachment lives. You can want respect without needing it. You can prefer connection without being desperate for it. You can care about outcomes without being controlled by them. That space between caring and being controlled is where the most powerful people operate. Pillar 3, memento mori. Remember that you will die, not as a morbid thought, as a liberating one. The Stoics practiced daily reflection on their own mortality, not to be depressed by it, but to be freed by it, because when you genuinely hold the reality of your own impermanence, when you truly feel the fact that your time here is finite, the question of whether someone approves of you loses most of its urgency. What does their opinion matter? In the long arc of a life, what does their approval change about who you actually are? What does their disrespect take from you? That time would not eventually take anyway? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How soon will you be ashes or bare bones? And how little will remain of you and your name? Not with despair, with freedom." The freedom of a person who understands that the time they have is too precious to spend in the performance of worthiness for people who will also be gone. Do the work, live the values, build the character, and let the respect come or not come, as a natural consequence of that, not as the goal, but as the side effect. Part 5, the 7 expressions of detachment. Detachment is not one thing. It expresses itself across every dimension of how you move through the world. Here are the 7 expressions of detachment and what they look like in real life. Expression 1, detachment from approval. This is the foundational one. A detached person does not change based on the room's reaction to them. They are the same in front of an impressed audience as they are in front of a critical one. They do not speak differently to people with power than they do to people without it. They do not shrink when criticized or expand when praised. They are simply, consistently, calmly, themselves. In practice, this looks like not checking how many likes a post got, not rewriting a message 5 times to manage how it will be received, not changing your position because someone seemed unhappy with it, not fishing for compliments after a piece of work, just doing the work, saying the thing, being the person, and releasing attachment to the response. Expression 2, detachment from outcomes. The Stoics call this the reserve clause. When you set a goal, you pursue it fully, with complete commitment and effort, but you hold the outcome lightly, not because you do not care, because you understand that the outcome is not entirely yours to determine. You control the effort, the preparation, the consistency, the quality of the work. You do not control whether the market rewards it, whether the person says yes, whether the timing is right. And holding that distinction, giving everything to what you control, and releasing what you cannot, creates a specific kind of presence that people find extraordinary. The person who is fully invested, without being desperate for a specific outcome, is one of the rarest people in any room, and rare things are always respected. Expression 3, detachment from other people's journeys. One of the most energy-draining things humans do is carry other people's journeys as if they were their own, worrying about decisions other adults are making, trying to fix people who have not asked to be fixed, taking personally the choices someone else makes about their own life. Detachment here means, I love you, I am here for you, and your journey is yours, not with indifference, with respect. The respect of treating other people as capable adults who are responsible for their own path, and freeing yourself from the weight of trying to carry what was never yours to carry. Expression 4, detachment from the past. The Stoics were clear. The past is not in your control. It never was. It never will be. And every moment you spend reliving it, re-arguing it, refeeling it, is a moment you are not present for the only thing that actually exists right now. Detachment from the past does not mean forgetting. It does not mean pretending it did not happen. It means extracting the lesson and releasing the weight, taking what was useful The wisdom, the growth, the understanding, and letting go of everything else. Expression 5. Detachment from the future. Just as destructive as living in the past is living in a future that does not yet exist. Anxiety is almost always a function of attachment to the future, attaching to a specific outcome that may or may not happen, building your peace on the foundation of something that is not yet real. Detachment from the future means I will prepare, I will plan, I will put in the work today, and I will release my grip on the specific way I need it to unfold, because the Stoics knew the future always arrives differently than we planned for it, and the person who is attached to a specific version of the future will always be disappointed. The person who is invested in the present and detached from the outcome is always exactly where they need to be. Expression 6. Detachment from identity labels. Most people are deeply attached to the labels they carry. My job title, my relationship status, my income level, my reputation, my social standing. And when any of those labels is threatened, when the job is lost, the relationship ends, the reputation takes a hit, they feel like they are losing themselves because they built their identity on those things. Detachment here means building your identity on something that cannot be taken. Your character, your values, how you treat people when it costs you something, what you do when nobody is watching, who you are when the labels are removed. That version of you, the label-free, circumstance-independent version, is the most powerful version and the most respected. Expression 7. Detachment from the need to be understood. This is the most advanced one and the most liberating. Most people spend an enormous amount of energy trying to be understood, explaining themselves, justifying their choices, defending their decisions, correcting misperceptions. All of this comes from the belief, conscious or not, that if people understood you properly, they would approve of you. Detachment here means releasing that belief. Some people will misunderstand you. Some people will draw wrong conclusions. Some people will have a version of you in their head that has almost nothing to do with who you actually are. And that is okay. You do not need to correct it. You do not need to manage it. You do not need to live in a way designed to prevent it. You just need to be clearly, consistently, unapologetically to yourself, and trust that the people who need to see you clearly will. Part 6. Detachment in romantic relationships. Let us talk about love, because this is where detachment is most misunderstood, most feared, and most needed. There is a belief, a deeply embedded, culturally reinforced belief, that love requires total attachment, that to truly love someone, you must need them completely, must be devastated at the thought of losing them, must organize your entire inner world around their presence in it. And this belief, as romantic as it sounds, is the source of almost every toxic dynamic in human relationships, because total attachment does not create closeness. It creates anxiety, jealousy, control, the constant low-grade fear of losing something your entire peace depends on. Real love, Stoic love, looks completely different. It says, I choose you, fully, completely, with my whole self, and I would be okay without you, not because you do not matter, but because my wholeness does not come from you. It comes from within me, and I bring that wholeness into this relationship, so that what we build together is not two incomplete people propping each other up, but two complete people choosing each other from a place of genuine freedom. That is the most beautiful and most durable form of love, and it begins with detachment. The detachment that says, I love you without needing you to complete me. I want you without needing you to approve of me. I am here without needing you to stay, to justify my being here. That love, that free, whole, self-possessed love, is the most attractive thing a person can offer another, because it does not demand, it does not cling, it does not suffocate, just gives freely, from fullness, and in return, not always but almost always, it receives the same. Part 7. Detachment and self-respect. Here is something that most conversations about detachment never address. Detachment and self-respect are not two separate things. They are the same thing, expressed differently. Self-respect is the internal version. Detachment is the external expression of that same internal truth. When you genuinely respect yourself, when your sense of worth is an internal constant, not an external variable, detachment is not something you practice. It is something you naturally embody, because you no longer need external validation to feel valuable. You already know your value, and that knowledge, quiet, settled, unshakable, is the root from which all genuine detachment grows. This is why the Stoic daily practices were not about managing behavior. They were about building character, because character, deeply known, consistently lived, makes detachment effortless. Not something you remind yourself to do, something you simply are. Part 8. The daily practice of detachment. The Stoics train daily, consistently, deliberately, without exception. Here are 8 daily practices that build genuine detachment over time. Morning practice 1. The ownership reminder. Before you begin your day, before you check your phone, before you engage with anyone, sit for 3 minutes and remind yourself of what is yours, your values, your choices, your character, your effort today. Then remind yourself of what is not yours, how today will be received, what people will think of your work, whether your message will be answered, whether your effort will be rewarded. Feel the difference between those two lists. One is yours, one is not. Invest fully in the first, release the second. Morning practice 2. The negative visualization. The Stoics practice something they called premeditation malarum, premeditation of evils. Not to be pessimistic, to be free. Spend 2 minutes imagining the things you are most attached to being taken away, the relationship ending, the approval withdrawn, the respect removed, and sit with the question, who am I without those things? If the answer is still, I am myself, I have my values, I have my character, I am okay, then you have already begun. The practice of genuine detachment. During the day, the pause before reaction. Anytime you feel the pull to explain yourself, to defend your position, to chase someone's approval, to manage how you are being perceived, pause 3 full seconds and ask, is this reaction coming from my values or from my need for approval? If it is coming from your values, proceed. If it is coming from need, do not act from that place. Return to yourself first, then respond. During the day, the release statement. Anytime something happens that is outside your control, a criticism, a rejection, a situation that does not go the way you planned, practice saying internally, this is not mine to carry. I did what I could. The outcome belongs to the world. I release it, not dismissively, not with forced positivity, just honestly, an acknowledgement that the outcome was never entirely yours to determine, and a choice to invest your energy in what comes next, rather than what just happened. Evening practice. The Stoic journal. Every evening, 3 questions only. 1. Where did I act from my values today? 2. Where did I act from need or fear? 3. What can I release before I sleep? That third question is the most important, because carrying tomorrow into the tonight is the opposite of detachment. Put it down. Sleep. Begin again. Part 9. What happens when you master detachment? Let me tell you what changes when this becomes who you are. Not a practice, not a technique, who you are. Your relationships deepen. When you stop needing things from people, when you stop performing, stop managing, stop adjusting yourself to secure their approval, the relationships that survive that shift become something completely different. They become real, because both people are finally showing up as themselves, not as what the other person needs them to be. And real connection, however rare it is the most nourishing thing a human being can experience. Your communication changes. A detached person communicates differently. They say what they mean. They mean what they say. They do not soften every edge, out of fear of how it will be received. And that directness, as uncomfortable as it sometimes is one of the most respected qualities in any relationship, because people always trust the person who tells them the truth, more than the person who tells them what they want to hear. Your presence becomes magnetic. This is the one that surprises people the most. When you stop needing, when you are genuinely, peacefully, unattached to outcomes, you become magnetic, not because you are trying to be, but because the absence of need is so rare, so genuinely unusual, in a world full of people performing and chasing and managing, that it stands out immediately. People are drawn to the person who seems to want nothing from them, because that person, for the first time perhaps, makes them feel safe, safe to be themselves, safe to be honest, safe to show up without performing. And safe is the most attractive feeling one person can create in another. You attract better, not just in romance, in everything. Better friendships, better professional opportunities, better conversations, better versions of the people you already have in your life, because your energy changes. When your need changes, needy energy attracts people who want to be needed, and people who want to be needed almost always need something in return. But full energy, the energy of a person who already has everything they need within them, attracts people who are also full, and full people build things together. They do not drain each other. They do not use each other. They simply choose each other, freely, consistently, without condition. That is what detachment makes possible. Part 10. A letter to the person who has been trying too hard. I want to step outside the structure. for a moment and speak directly to you, because I think you have been trying for a very long time, trying to be good enough, trying to be liked enough, trying to be impressive enough, agreeable enough, available enough, to finally receive the respect and love you have always deserved and never quite felt you had. And I want to tell you something that I hope lands the way it needs to. The trying is the problem, not because you are wrong to want those things, but because the energy of trying, the visible, detectable, quietly desperate energy of trying, communicates something you never intended to communicate. It communicates, I do not believe I am enough, without your confirmation. And people, however much they care about you, cannot give you that belief. You have to build it yourself, not by achieving more, not by becoming more impressive, not by making yourself more useful, or more available, or more easy to be around, by going inward, by spending time with yourself, by knowing yourself, by building a relationship with your own character, so honest, so examined, so trusted, that you no longer need anyone outside of you to tell you who you are. That is the work. It is quieter than achievement. It is slower than success. It is invisible to most people watching, but it changes everything, because the person who comes out on the other side of that work, the person who has genuinely stopped needing what they used to chase, is the most compelling person in any room they walk into, not because they are performing, because they are not. And in a world full of performance, the person who is simply, completely, unapologetically themselves is the rarest thing alive. Be that person. It starts today, in the quiet, in the honest examination of what you are carrying and what you can finally put down. Put it down. You've been carrying it long enough. Detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of freedom. The freedom of a person whose worth is not for sale, not for approval, not for validation, not for anyone's assessment of their value. It is already decided by them, within them, unshakably. And from that place, that quiet, rooted, unmovable place, respect is not something they chase. It is something they cannot avoid, because you cannot spend time with a person who genuinely needs nothing from you and not find yourself thinking more of them, not less, more. That is the paradox. That is the Stoic truth. And that is what awaits you on the other side of the one decision this video has been building toward. Stop chasing. Start being. The rest takes care of itself. If this landed, and I believe it did, save this video. Not for today. For the day the old patterns return. The day you feel the pull. To perform. To chase. To need. On that day, come back here. And let this remind you of who you decided to be. Share this with someone who has been trying too hard for too long. And follow this channel, because this is where we do the work that most people are too comfortable to even begin. The work of becoming someone the world cannot shake. Someone whose respect is already decided by them. See you in the next one.